Dorigo, and this is my presentation on the Italian job old versus new. There's two examples of the posters. There's the original one, made in 1969, and this is the newer one, which was in 2003. Okay, so in 1969, the original, it's about Charlie Croker and his departure from prison. That's how it starts. Charlie follows instructions to set up a heist to steal $4 million in gold from a convoy that is carrying the gold around Turin in Italy with Mini Coopers. While preparing the plans, Bridger, Charlie's ex-prison warden that is a secret criminal, gets confronted by Charlie to be a part of the heist. After some doubts that he has, Bridger comes around to the idea, and along with Charlie's team, they go in and finish the job. Narrowly escaping the police while driving around the town, the team meet up and together they drive off, dumping the news over a cliff's edge on the way, so there's nothing left to prove that they did it. While celebrating their victory, the bus they are travelling on gets stuck balancing on a cliff, and the audience literally gets left on a cliffhanger, not knowing if they get away safely or not. Also, the gold is at one end of the bus, so it's weighing it down, and they're all at the other end, so that's how it finishes. In the 2003 remake, Charlie Croker and John Bridger and team come together to complete a heist in Venice, in which they steal a safe containing $35 billion in gold. While celebrating, a short time after in the Alps, their journey home hits a rocky patch when team member Steve then betrays his friends with another team. Steve takes the gold and kills Bridger with attempts at killing his old team members along with him. Sometime later, the gang meet up with Bridger's daughter Stella with information on Steve's whereabouts. Together they plot a plan to take back the gold in Los Angeles with Mini Coopers, very similar to the other one. Completing the plan successfully, the team split up for the final time with the gold split equally and Charlie and Stella staying together. Throughout both films, Charlie is a man's man that is part of the heist team planning to steal a large amount of gold in Italy, but will the plans go smoothly as hoped? That's just a general overview for both films. Both films are action and crime based, but the original has more aspects of comedy, whereas the remake is just witty in places. 1969, which is the original, is directed by Peter Collinson. He then went on to film productions such as Fright in 1971 and Spiral Staircase in 1975, before his early death in 1980 at age 44. This version of the Italian job was British made. Show you a link.
Is the Italian job?
The city chaos, the smash and grab raid, and $4 million.
$4 million? I think we can take that over, Roger. Go! We're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
Ready, Bridger? Croker, I've got a job lined up. Get out of here. It's all here. Maps, drawings, plans, everything. You've been put up for censorship. You've been liable to upset my natural rhythm and heroin makeup.
Michael Caine does the Italian job on the outside. And masterminding the job from the inside, Noel Carr. Two gentlemen on the job.
Does Mr. Bridger think he can take over Europe from a prison cell? Wait till you see them Italian burgers.
Oh, they're big. I like them big.
Oh, really?
Big.
They
Also on the Italian job, Ralph Malone, Tony Beckley, Maggie Blythe, Rossano Grazzi.
I want Charlie Croker give him a good going over.
Hello, Charlie. Lovely, Charlie. Nice, Charlie. Good to see you, Charlie. Now, what would you like?
Everything.
Okay, so there was an example of the trailer. So the 2003 remake was directed by F. Gary Gray, who later went on to film iconic films such as A Man Apart 2003, Law-Abiding Citizen 2009, and such music videos as Mrs. Jackson by Outkast in 2000. This version was made in the US. And I'll show you an example of the trailer.
Daddy, come by and we'll have some breakfast.
It'll be a long trip. I'm in Venice.
Learn the language of poetry, art, romance, sex.
Unlike you, my friend, I don't need a guidebook.
The plan was flawless.
The next 45 minutes, we own this place, gentlemen.
Okay, Steve, it's right above you. The heist was perfect. The escape was clean.
What are you going to do with your share? I'm going to get a 9T77 booth with 71 amps and bird round VACs. It's a big stereo. Speakers so loud they blow women's clothes off.
The only threat was the one they never saw coming.
What the hell are you doing?
If you plans around.
Somewhere you can go and we will find you.
It's probably right, John.
This summer,
I'm stolen. It's in Los Angeles.
Stealing that gold is not going to bring my father back.
It's not about the gold. John's like a father to me, too. I just can't move on until I've set things right.
they're not in it for the pay.
Hey, Steve.
Gang's all here.
You have no idea how hard it is for me not to reach across this table and kill you.
You want to start the game up again? That's fine with me.
They're in it for the payback.
You're trying to take out my guards. I have 5 of them that you don't know about.
I don't do dogs. I had a real bad experience. What happened? I had a bad experience.
You try to hack the system.
You ready to create the biggest traffic jam in the history of Los Angeles?
I'm so ready.
Oops.
You can try to crack my safe.
You took my father from me before I'm taking this.
You just blew the best thing I had going for you. You just blew the element of surprise.
Surprised?
Why do you get to punch when I die?
Paramount Pictures presents
The gold has come to us. Gridlock every route except for the one we choose. Force that truck to go exactly where we want it to go.
Before they hit the streets.
This is it, guys. Moment of truth.
We made our play, and I came out on top.
It's over when I say it's over.
5 seconds of paint on the train.
Mark Wahlberg, Charlize Theron, Edward Norton, Seth Green, Jason Statham, Mose Def, and Donald Sutherland.
Cut him loose. The game is over. Just give up already.
You have no imagination.
What happened to my truck?
Got the Holy Spirit.
The Italian Job.
You know this is never about the gold.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, sweetheart.
Okay, so it's that one. Okay, right, so for the original, the budget was 3 million, and the other numbers that I worked out are from Alfie, that was created in 1966, because I couldn't find the financial detriments for the original Italian job. But the box office was 18,871,300, and the gross profit was therefore 15,871,300. The gross margin worked out at 84.1% and the markup was 52.9%. The film opened on the 2nd of June 1969 and was certificated a G. A bit of trivia was the ending was left as a cliffhanger, so there would always be the possibility of a sequel. Also, Paramount originally intended to have Robert Redford to play Charlie Croker instead of Michael Caine. So the remake. The budget was 60 million. The domestic box office was 106,126,012 pounds. The worldwide box office was 175,826,012 pounds. The gross profit was 115,826,012 pounds, and I worked out the gross margin and the markup with the worldwide box office amount. So the gross margin was 65.9% and the markup was 193%. The Italian Job remake opened on the 30th of May 2003 and was released as a PG-13, so parental guidance was needed. It was known to be the #1 best British remake and the #2 action remake behind The Karate Kid. Trivia behind the remake was when the gang is spying on Stephen's house, in the background you can see Michael Caine in Alfie on the television. Also, 32 minis were used throughout the shooting. So, the technology behind the original. The duration of the film is only 1 hour and 39 minutes, which during the 60s was perfectly normal, but as time has progressed, films have grown in length and are now averaging 90 to 100 minutes long. When filming, the camera crew used Panavision anamorphic lenses and the running on a on 35mm film. On top of this, the aspect ratio was 2.35 to 1. Most of the film is stunt-based, but there are always a handful of places where a green screen is used. The best example is the ending scene, where the buses hang over the cliff's edge, as seen in the image above, and when the camera is inside the bus, it shows the outside view on a green screen. To film this, they had to use helicopters over the reservoir to do all of the panning shots from that height. Also, at the beginning of the film, the car racing around the roads in the mountains was a Lamborghini Murara, but once it crashes in the tunnel and gets tipped over the edge by the mafia, there is a different Murara that gets used. The Murara was unroadworthy due to being involved in a serious accident previously. So in the remake, the running is slightly longer in time than the original at 1 hour and 51 minutes. This remake used similar film equipment but just modern versions. The production team wanted to use a wide aspect ratio, the same that is used in car adverts. On this note, they went on to use 2.4 to 1 with the same size film but advanced to super 35mm film than the original. What is slightly different between the two films is the up-to-date camera equipment of Panavision anamorphic cameras and lenses in the remake, so slightly up to date. It is stated by F. Gary Gray that he wanted to film with the intention of not using much computer-generated imagery as he possibly could. On top of this, due to the inner car shots, most of the stunts were completed by the cast. However, in some cases, there would be a stunt driver next to the actor with real steering wheel who would be driving. Some of the laws in LA meant that Mini Coopers had to be made especially with electric engines instead of petrol-based engines. Because of many different positions that Gray used, steadicams and dollies were used throughout the majority of filming. Right, so in 1969 there was a lot of trends around. Particularly around this time there was a lot of hype surrounding the mod subculture. This was anything and everything from fashion, films, music and merchandising. The famous red, white and blue treble circle symbol was even used at the end of the film within the title, before the credits appeared. This was an iconic symbol and is recognised even today to have a relation with the Mods, as The Who was a famous band that used the symbol as their logo. Their music enhanced power music during that time. Another trend that was apparent, but not as popular, was action. Some very famous action films came out of the 60s. The more realistic action films came out towards the end of the 60s. Throughout the 2003, the beginning of the noughties, there had been several trends, but the main two being action and leading into supernatural fantasy. Action took a big chunk of the early 2000s, and some huge feature films came out within this time. Even now, in fantasy and supernatural films, there is still some action involved because audiences at the moment are grabbed by it. It's very rare to find a film that doesn't use action in any film at the moment. There is such a following for it, and it is proven that the audiences love it. Here are some examples of the trends in 1969. And here are some of the trends in 2003, similar films. Right, so here are the cast. So Michael Caine and Mark Wahlberg both played Charlie Croker. Noel Coward and Donald Sutherland both played Mr. or John Bridger. Maggie Bile played Lorna in the original, and Charlize Theron played Stella. Ralph Vallone is Al Patini, and Edward Norton plays Steve. They're both the bad guys. And Benny Hill played Professor Simon Peach, and Seth Green played a similar computer character called Lyle. Fred Emmy is Birkinshaw, and Mos Def is Lefty. They're both drivers. And Michael Stanley played Arthur, whereas Jason Statham played Handsome Rob, which is also another driver within the film. Right, so Charlie Croker. By the time Michael Caine did The Italian Job, he had already been in many features films such as Gambit and Alfie, also other famous films that have been remade recently, and continued to do so throughout the next 50 years of his career. He is still acting today, even at the age of 80. Michael Caine is known for many of his films, and not any one in particular, but his role in The Italian Job is up there with the most famous. Mark Wahlberg's career was known, but it wasn't as fully fledged until after his role as Charlie in The Italian Job. He had been in things such as Planet of the Apes and Renaissance Man, but it wasn't until afterwards when he created his best work. These were in films such as The Lovely Bones, The Fighter, Contraband, and The Departed. It is believed that his most famous role was in The Departed as Sergeant Sean Dignan. Bridger. Noel Coward was known for many things during his years active: playwriting, director, composer, singer and actor. His role in The Italian Job was leading towards the end of his career, but before his role as Bridger, he started in such films as Around the World in 80 Days in 1956 and Boom in 1968, in which he starred with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, also very well known at the time. He was as well-known actor by The Italian Job and his last film. This is why his name is attached to the film so much, even though his character isn't as significant as Michael Caine's. Donald Sutherland's role as Bridger was much smaller than Noel Coward's version, as he gets killed after the first couple of scenes. Sutherland's Bridger is more based around leaving a legacy, but like Coward's Bridger, they both have a matter of importance over the team. Sutherland's career has been very steady throughout his many years in acting, and still is to this day. So the bad guys. Al Patini is a mafia-based character which is interested in seeing the goal as well as Charlie Croker's team. His character is very strong and threatening. The Italian-born and based actor is well known in Italy and has been in many films past and up to 2000 before his retirement. He has been in several other English films, but The Italian Job appearing as his most well known. Before The Italian Job, Edward Norton hadn't been acting for very long in comparison to other actors in the film. His career had lasted just under 10 years by 2003, but he had been in several well-established films. Norton's character as Steve is very different to Al Patini, because Steve's story is based around betrayal and him being selfish. Also, his character is more on edge, whereas Al Patini is very cool and collected because he knows he's in charge. Maggie, or Margaret Byles' character as Lorna is quite different to how we see females portrayed today. She's quite confident, but she is more concerned about Charlie pleasing him. More concerned about Charlie and pleasing him. However, she isn't afraid to stick up for herself, as we see when she catches him with another woman. But in the same scene, she also turns timid and depends on him to look after her. Most known for her TV films and series, this is known to be Byles' most recognising picture. Also, as a blonde female in the film was Charlize Theron in the remake. She's a very strong character compared to Lorna in the original. Although both characters are quite reliant on Charlie at times, Stella has a bigger part in the remake. This is purely down to the time when each film was made and the culture surrounding women at the time. Theron's career had been very steady coming up to the Italian job, but in recent years her career has skyrocketed and is now appearing and starring in several major pictures. Benny Hill, as Professor Simon Peach, is quite a comic character and is generally laughed at for his actions. As a person, Benny is known as a comedic person for his role in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang in 1968 and other roles. He is known throughout the whole of his career as a funny guy, and it is understandable why he would be casted as a comedic computer operator in a film that is full of action. He lightens the film and is able to keep the flow of amusement throughout. Niall, played by Seth Green, is quite a witty character. As an up-to-date version of Professor Simon Peach, he is relied on more by the gang, and he and Peach do many of the same jobs. One obvious example being the traffic jam. It is their responsibility to cause havoc in the big town in order for the operation to be completed. Green's career was already fully fledged by this time he reached the Italian job, as was Benny Hill's. Right, so social, political and regulatory factors. Minis are a well-known car manufacturer that were created during 1959. The famously known British car maker played a big effect within both the Italian jobs, as they were the getaway cars that carried the gold in. The original is based in England from the beginning, where Minis are based, before going to Italy, and the uses of Minis only justify where they came from when they used later on in the film in Italy. The remake also uses Minis to keep a strong connection between the two films. Mini Coopers were a production from the 60s and was recognised within many cultures surrounding that time. When the remake came out, the revamp of Mini Coopers had been reset to people latched onto the Mini franchise. This also added to the modern spin of the original film. So comparisons between old and new. Both films have similarities between the two, which can be recognised why they are part of the same franchise. However, there are some contemporary improvements that make scenes or moments similar but slightly different. Here's some examples. Having the red, white and blue Mini Coopers used within the heist. Having Charlie as the main character. One blonde female character with some connection to Charlie. The use of inner earpieces for the drivers to be in contact with Niall. Stealing gold from a secure place. Setting the heist in Italy but originating from a different country. Both having some humour involved and both including the computer specialist causing traffic jams in major cities. There were just a few of the similarities between the two films. So vertical and horizontal integration. Both the 1969 original and the 2003 remake were distributed by Paramount Pictures, but the original was produced by a standalone company called Oakhurst Productions in London, whereas the remake was produced by Donald D. Lyne, who is part of the Walt Disney Productions. Donald D. Lyne originally worked for Walt Disney and then went on to work and obtain a high level at Touchstone Pictures before finalising D. Lyne Pictures at Paramount Pictures. Donald D. Lyne had been famous for producing such films as Pretty Woman, 1990, and went on to produce other films such as Without a Paddle, 2004, I Love You Man, 2009, and Observe and Report, 2009. This is my view on the original. I think the original is funny, action-packed and intensity-fueled. The story is quite original and builds up a lot of tension towards the heist. The audience gets automatically taken into the characters' lives and we can understand every aspect of the job because it is explained to us from earlier on. However, we don't actually get connected with any one of the characters, except for Charlie, but even then we don't see much of his life other than the heist and coming out of prison. We don't find out much about each individual, so there is no life before or after the film for the audience to recognise with. I think everything that happens during the build-up towards the job is needed to really appreciate the work they have done and their troubles. In order for it to create the right amount of emotion, the audience sees at the ending as an unexpected shock. On the other hand, I do find some places slightly slow and unnecessary in comparison to other vital scenes for the storyline. The cliffhanger is quite a surprise. I do find the ending is annoying, but that is the beauty of the cliffhanger because it shows I wanted to see more and it caught my attention. The Mafia have quite a small part in the film, and although they are intimidating, I felt they could have done much more to get their point across to Charlie and the team, whereas they only confronted one another in one scene. I did, however, find the film quite funny in places and unlike much of the films I'd seen from this time. So my view on the remake. I think the remake has been made very well. It's a great adaptation from the original. I think it's a modern version of the classic, but although it has been set on the basis of the original, it still has its own identity and slightly changed storyline. We see the characters progress right in front of us, which makes it more important that they get Steve back for what he did to Bridger. I do think the film has a standalone, not connected to the original feel. It's a great idea, however, for the purposes of a remake, I feel it strays too far away from the original than expected. On the other hand, this film has done justice to the original because it doesn't overshadow the 1969 version, as they both have differences and similarities. If it had been exactly the same like Psycho's 1960 original and the 1998 remake, it would have been boring and unentertaining to the audience. With the snippets that are similar, it does jog the viewer's memory of why it is a remake. We can relate to the characters more in the remake because we can understand a bit more about them from the beginning and their ambitions. This makes the ending better because it seems like a full circle for the characters. Also, the villain Steve is more prominent in this Italian job because he has physically done something to betray his friends, whereas in the original, the villain is the heist members themselves. However, I find the remake more entertaining, but could have done with more referencing or more storyline. That's my star view. I think 3 stars for the original and 4 for the